Life. Good evening and welcome to Fahckmylife, the podcast version of the book and blog of the same name. Currently being recorded at a secret location in Dublin by my very talented friend, Mr. Anal.
Leave it
Okay.
Leave it in.
Okay, ad-libbing is really hard. I just wanted to know, and this is like the first time I've kind of done anything like this in a long time. So I'll explain what I'm doing here. Obviously, I know in the future, going forward, I hate that phrase, but going forward, it'll be a lot more professional. But I'll give you an idea of where I'm coming from and hopefully where we're going. Okay, so this started out, my blog started out 8 years ago as like a 45-minute exercise where I just literally rant and write about anything that was bothering me. So I kind of thought when I was initially writing it that nobody would read it. And it was a 45-minute exercise that I didn't edit and just put up there because it helped get things out of my brain. But eventually I started kind of getting a bit better at it. And I decided to turn it into a book, which I self-published last year. So that's Fahckmylife, The Awakening. And, the little book of fuck. Jesus, I don't even know the name of my own book. That's pretty fucking shit, isn't it? So there's lots of essays in it about motherhood and sex and feminism and mental health and stuff. And I'm trying to write another book this year as well, but it'll be accompanied by a podcast. And I was hoping as well to kind of showcase what I was planning on doing through this kind of shorter version, because this will probably only end up being maybe 20 minutes long, half an hour long. And I would be hoping to do a weekly one that's about an hour. Now, for that, I'd like to get guests in to talk about things like psychology and other kind of interesting areas as well, because I know lots of interesting people. And I do readings from the new book, which actually, in comparison to the last one, will include lots of short stories, some dark, some not, hopefully some funny, a nice mix of things. And I might be throwing in some colouring into the book as well. So this is kind of just to give you an idea of a taste of some of the stuff that I've done in the past and actually just see if I can actually do this, because I don't actually know if I can. My voice isn't annoying me as much as I thought it would, which is actually pretty good. Mr. Anal has been brilliant. He's helped out so much. He's so Mr. Anonymous. So I was basically looking to get some funding, which will be included at a certain point, an Indiegogo kind of crowdfunding thing. Obviously, people wouldn't be giving away their money for nothing. They'd be getting something out of it. So I'm going to have a couple of extracts included in this. I'm not really used to the ad-libbing part, but I'm sure I will get into it eventually. What I'm going to do now is just briefly tell you just a bit about my own background as well, I suppose. Might as well, it's not humble bragging, it's normal talk. So I come from like a radio and film and English background. I spent 12 years in college, probably just trying to, extend my childhood, which will be touched upon at some other point. I've self-published the book. I did an Indiegogo last year and raised enough money to self-publish. I've got short stories printed. I've done conferences. I want to kind of make stuff kind of academic, but at the same time make it accessible and still kind of funny and interesting. And I'm hoping to kind of cover a wide variety of different topics. This isn't me being like ridiculously self-indulgent. It just seems like something fun to do or something that I could try. And if you have any feedback, that would be lovely. You could always send me feedback. That would be nice. Hopefully as well, we're going to have a theme tune attached to this. We haven't done it yet. There's been a couple we've been playing around with. I'd like to say that me and Anal did them together, but we didn't. I'd say Mr. Anal did more of them. Oh no, we can't. No, you can't. You have to take that bit out of it. You'll have to bleep your name out. Like, I'm sorry, but the rest of it's okay. I'm kind of happy. But anyway, so first of all, there's going to be a bit from chapter 1 about adulting, about bridging that gap between being a child and an adult, and how a lot of people are still retaining a lot of their childishness and like an unwillingness to kind of participate in adulthood to the fullest of capacity. So I hope you like it, and I'll be back in a bit.
Fahckmylife.
So this is an extract from the first chapter of Fahckmylife about adulting and how to bridge the gap between being a teenager, person in your early 20s, child, and an adult. Buy slippers. Just do it. Not just one pair, buy multiples. You need to be comfortable inside where you'll be a lot of the time when you're not physically adulting. Use phrases like, but they're so comfy, and even consider buying a spare set just in case you can't reach the original. Dressing gowns are optional also. Do not, and I repeat, do not consider buying Crocs. You haven't given up that much on life yet. Aim for your bed. Try your best to fall asleep in your bed. You're no longer a child sleeping over in your mates, hiding from your parents in a puddle of puke. You'll just hurt your back or you'll have a bad night's sleep. Also, do not fall asleep on the sofa. You aren't ancient. Stop drinking Buckfast, or at least cut down. You're old now, so you probably need the caffeine. Actually, fuck that. Drink more Buckfast. Laugh at marriage. Lots of people around you are probably getting married. Don't let this have any impact on you. Even if people look at you like you're totally sad for not being married with silly pity eyes. I mean, you don't care that they found someone willing to spend the rest of their life with them, right? And you're not bitter, right? You're happy for them, of course you are. Remind yourself that while you're not anti-marriage, the idea of being with the same person for the rest of your life is a bit claustrophobic. You're a robot who couldn't possibly love anyone enough to marry them. End of. Don't fall in love. Love people, sure. Fall in love. Ah, Jesus, that's a whole different ballgame. If you haven't by this stage, you're incapable and it's too distracting from your own stubborn ways. Compromise for someone else. Fuck off. Feelings don't make me laugh. Engage them physically and kick them out. Use the word sensible regularly. Sorry, I'd love to have some pills, but I have to be sensible. I can't have a 7th pint. I've an interview in the morning. I am sensible. These sensible shoes are so comfortable. It was very sensible of you to vomit in the shower instead of on the floor. Let's use a condom. I'm feeling sensible. Pay your rent and bills. This seems obvious, but you'd be surprised at the amount of people who are unable to pay their rent. Not because they're actually poor or anything, but more because they just can't prioritise, or rather prioritise fun. And this is something you work out when you move out first, but I've come across it lots. Being an adult isn't fun really. We'd all like to lie hungover in a bed of joint crumbs covered in our own gick, but not if it means you'll be homeless. Work on your judgy face. Being an adult requires a new level of judgmentalism, and that is a word. Make sure your face says words so you don't have to, because let's face it, you shouldn't have to tell people how to adult. It's funny because you're actually probably being very reasonable and people will tell you that you're being irrational. You're not. You're awesome and realistic and an adult. Get a superfluous rolling pin and hair rollers to complete the look. When seeing people, it's important to be at your most stubborn. Firstly, you don't want to actually really get very attached to someone. And secondly, you only really need temporary relief from adulting. Keep your eye on the prize. So just don't see one person. When questioned on whether a situation is exclusive, laugh in a maniacal fashion. Then tell them they're stupid, which sounds like an answer, but it isn't. Then continue. Even if exclusivity is forced upon you, laugh when all evidence points to the contrary, and remind said person that they're lucky to have even been entertained by you this long. The key here is to say one thing whilst clearly doing another so as to confuse people. Then you can have all the genitalia that you want at your disposal while deciding who you may or may not keep. Get a cat. At least one. The more the merrier. The cat piss smell will cover the stench of your dead hopes and dreams. You can dress them in outfits that you would dress your real neglected children in. You too can achieve your dreams. Get even more sickened by those around you that are happy and having fun. Make sure to ruin all family outings or friends meeting up. Cry, start fights, moan, never compromise. This will cut down your friends and you will have more quality time alone masturbating at home, which secretly is what everyone wants really. Again, slippers and dressing gowns are optional. Meet friends for lunch. Meet up with friends for an early lunch and listen to them talk about adulting. Realise that whilst you're doing an okay job by only drinking 3 nights a week and reducing your weekly drug intake, that they are doing it better. Maybe they've even mentioned mortgages or planning a baby. So whilst you're simultaneously happy for them being so together, jealous because they own a gaff and disgusted talk of babies, drink lots of wine and later cry about how your highest aspiration is to not have another abortion. That'll learn them for being productive. Sleep less. What the fuck are you doing sleeping past 9? You need to be out and adulting. Being an adult, or inside being an adult. That oven won't scrub itself. Don't get bored. If you get bored, you may revert to doing things like socialising, drinking for fun, and meeting new people. Keep your brain moving by reading the Daily Mail to keep you angry, and slowly over time make you angry with everyone, and watching Jeremy Kyle, which will make you happy you started working after years of being unemployed because now you can point the finger. Sit on your sofa in your pants covered in crackers watching Game of Thrones. Grow a lawn so that you can shout at kids to get off it. Embrace your cynical side. Remember, everyone is a self-serving asshole. Don't rely on anybody but yourself. Spend a lot of time in isolation. It's okay to crack open cans and drink like you're 20 on your own. In this instance, drinking alone to excess is modern adulting. Scoff at happy and revel in your own vitriol. Stop using tech speak. I'm sorry, but you can't be an adult and spell like you spilled alphabet spaghetti on the ground. Nobody will take you seriously, and it makes you look seriously stupid. Recognise your faults. And that's it. Use phrases like, well, this is what I am, so deal with it, rather than change. Fuck change. Resist it at all costs. You're getting old. Why should you change now? Have an existential crisis. So have this crisis, realise that you're getting old, and then go sleep with someone younger than you. I'd like to say that half your age plus 7 is a golden rule to follow, but rules were made to be broken. Do it. Remind yourself you're cool, move on, and continue adulting. Stop saying that you're creative. You're not creative. You're a twat without a job. Seriously, what was the last creative thing you ever did? Something from 3 years ago doesn't count. Your writing skills might be okay, but seriously, cop the fuck on.
Fuck my life.
Hello, and I guess welcome back. Just so you know, this isn't recorded chronologically. I'm hoping to sound a little bit less robot-y doing readings. It seems that the ad-libbing is working a little bit better in terms of that. So yeah. I'm just I'm talking into a sock. This room is very, very warm, and but I am lovely and fed, and I'm having a lovely cigarette. About the funding, just to repeat it again, just to talk about, explain a bit more. This is money that I'm necessarily Mr. Anal. This is money that I kind of want to give a contributory kind of. I will be working with other people, so I do kind of believe that people should be paid for their work, regardless of how much you can afford, instead of asking people to pay for free. I think it's ridiculous, and I know that that's a thing that keeps happening with internships and stuff a lot today, where you're expected to work for nothing because it gives you exposure. I'm doing air quotes, which I think is complete fucking bullshit. So even if it's a nominal fee, that's what I kind of want to give people, to kind of show them that I do appreciate and value their work as a real thing, and that's part of what the actual costs would be covering, that and the printing costs, which essentially means that you're buying a copy of the book before it comes out. So I'm going to be doing another reading about self-objectification and selfies, and an extract from a chapter about that, just about how people, particularly women, would view themselves physically, and how people feel the need to comment on people physically, as if that's a major place where their sense of self-worth comes from. So that's the bit that I'm going to do next. I'm trying to concentrate now because I'm really, really warm. I think you're probably going to see throughout this, there'll obviously be a lot more conversation between me and other people on a variety of topics. But basically, I'm a bit of a mess as a human being, but in some ways I'm really, really together. So, I mean, it's up for you to decide, I suppose. Maybe I play up on that. Who knows? You know, maybe I'm a borderline alcoholic and I'm hiding. I'm sober now. But anyway, so here is the next part, which will be an extract from the book. The current book, not the new book. So I hope you enjoy that, and I sound less robot-y.
Fuck my life.
Is this recording now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It was said in passing to me the other day that I should consider a diet because I will be a bridesmaid in a few months. Actually, the word fat was used. So I really thought that I was over caring about this, but I did. So my weight's always fluctuated loads. I spent my late teens and early 20s on diets and starving myself and taking laxatives and exercising excessively. But thinking about that was more to do with my attempting to control myself more than my weight. And it has totally had a negative impact on my guts. I've jumped from 9 stone to 13 stone and then down to 8 stone. I have had a big child who obviously had an impact on my shape. What bothers me so much about this is that people feel they have the right to throw in unsolicited advice about your weight or appearance. I've never asked anybody if I thought I was fat, yet constantly people told me I was. The other day I was taken aback, mostly because I'm not even really that big, but also because it was just not what I needed. I thought people had moved on from this. So why do people feel it's so important to be so mean? It's not cruel to be kind. It's telling me that my only value isn't in my appearance. When someone walks up to you and comments on your appearance, they're trying to assert control or dominance over you. For example, you rarely see men compliment each other physically, but it should happen more. Girls are taught, and don't yawn because I mentioned this through my experience, which is tinged with a feminist perspective, that their main value is physical attractiveness, and that catcalling should be seen as flattering and not intimidation. Seriously though, how much do you care what a complete stranger thinks of your body? And weirdly, a lot of the time, these compliments and insults come from people who, if we're going to be mean here, wouldn't be winning any beauty pageants themselves. Also, in my experience, a lot of the time, that guys, particularly some, have slagged me off physically. It's been in some effort to control me and the relationship, while also masking their own insecurities. I mean, I could sit here all day and list off things that I'm physically unhappy with, but that would be morose and boring and self-indulgent. And I've made lots of efforts to change things, but ultimately I've moved on from being so self-conscious. I guess I act like I'm confident about myself as opposed to actually being that way. I mean, I have things to be confident about, and that's what I've always focused on. I know my own strengths and weaknesses. I dress the way I want to make myself comfortable, which unfortunately, as described in previous blogs, means not having my boobs out most of the time because of the unwanted attention that they may attract, and put on makeup to make myself feel nice, not to impress anybody else. I ignore what I don't like about myself and cannot be changed, and hope that nobody else will notice it, or worse yet, bring it up. So I guess that was why I was a little upset about the idea of someone calling me fat. I mean, you can slag someone off for how they look, but in reality, you're not providing them with any information that they're not already aware of. You can pretend that you care about them as much as you fucking can on internet threads and talk about health benefits of this, but if you're fat already, you know this. You don't need some random cunt reminding you. You know you're fat. And I really thought I was over caring about it. I mean, I've done naked photo shoots and had no issues removing my clothes in general. And when I was younger, I would never have thought that I have the proverbial balls to do that. This was never meant in a vain way or to provoke some kind of sexual response in people. They were always about reclaiming how I felt about myself, and for a while I felt okay about myself. But every now and then, there is a little crappy reminder that that I really am not anything to look at, and I just have to pull myself up onto my intellectual high horse and tell myself that it's society's loss, not mine. So for the most part, I don't care. I've detached myself from caring, but at the same time, I still feel that there's pressure on me to be something that I can't, and will always be reminded of that. I'd also like to point out that I do not dislike people who are pretty or attractive, or think that they are lacking in some other aspect of their life. Power to them. They've no control over it, really, unless they spend hours looking after themselves in ways I couldn't be bothered with. If, however, they act like they're simply entitled to things because of it, or act like they know they are the shizzle, based on the arbitrary game of pulling genes out of the gene pool when they can go fuck themselves. I think that it is horrible that people expect other girls to hate other girls because they're nice looking, when in fact it's more likely that you won't like them because they're a cunt. However, essentially what I'm trying to say here is that people should really think before they talk. There's no reason to say something negative to somebody about their appearance. And if you think someone needs to hear it, then you really have to question why you have to say it, don't you? Also, if you see me taking more selfies, it's not me being vain. It's me changing my hair or makeup, not looking for validation, but simply thinking I took a good photo this time. I know I'm not hot but you don't need to remind me because there are more important things than that, yeah?
Fuck my life.
Okay, so that was an extract from chapter 6 from the little book of Fuck. Selfies, fat, tears and self-objectification. Fuck My Life is available on Amazon if you want to buy it. It's available on Kindle as well. I know that there's a bit of a strike thing going on with Amazon, so maybe wait until that's over or whatever. But if you wanted to buy it, you could, and that'd be super nice. That's my manipulative voice. Is it working? Who knows? But thanks for listening this far if you have. I'm just going to leave this now with, I'm going to end with a poem about pubic hair, also from the book. And then hopefully we will be in touch with each other again. I don't know. How do you sign off on things? I don't fucking know. But so I'll just read the poem now. So it's an ode to pubic hair. Pubic hair, oh pubic hair, you're not just restricted to my underwear. All this fluff when I'm in the buff, sporting a lovely 70s disco muff. Wax on, wax off, hair ripped away, but invariably the wax will stay. And once it sealed my bits together so tight, they had to cut me open. Pubic hair, oh pubic hair, you get absolutely everywhere. In my throat, all over the floor, but when I remove you, it seems I grow more. There's body shaming, whatever your style. I'm somewhere in between, not much but not a child. But I'd love not to have to worry about whether or not my bush was too furry. So until next time, goodbye from me and Mr. Anal at our secret location.